Okay, let's talk about that historical analysis. Instead of getting kind of geeky here, let's put this in a different term or a different view. So in the United States, there are some interesting concepts of housing, and one of them is referred to as a trailer home, and some of them are actually quite nice. These are homes that, yeah, technically you could wheel them out of an area. In fact, you usually buy them on almost like a car lot, and then you have them delivered. Some of them are too big to be delivered as one unit, so that in this case here on the right, they actually separate the building down right smack down the center, and you'll see them running down the freeway on the back of semis. Great homes, but again, there's no foundation to them. They're just sitting on basically on top of blocks. Now, what's really interesting is that we start getting these communities, especially in sometimes medium low income areas or rural areas, because it's very inexpensive to purchase these homes as well as to maintain the homes. And we have what they refer to as trailer parks. And again, these are just communities. Now, what's interesting is that a extremely high percentage of these trailer parks exist in a specific area of the United States. And I used to live there. It was called, or it is called, Kansas. Anybody know where I'm going with this one? What is Kansas also known for, besides Dorothy and Toto? It's actually in the middle of what we refer to as Tornado Alley, meaning that we have more tornadoes in this area than anywhere else in the United States. Now, think about that. A tornado and these types of homes. The result is that every year there's quite a bit of travesties. We see several instances where tornadoes just totally and utterly destroy these areas. And yet what's funny is that a year later, this particular plot of land will probably be repopulated with homes again, trailer homes again. And that's kind of what it is when we look at historical analytics. If I was going to be making a purchase of a trailer home, I would probably want to say, okay, where would I want to place this particular product, especially if I want it to last for any time whatsoever? Well, probably I'd take Kansas out of that equation. The other issue, too, by the way, is that these trailer homes, because they have no foundation, that's why they're destroyed so easily, as well as their construction isn't as solid because there is no foundation. But because there is no foundation, there's no basement, which is really wild for me to think that, hey, we don't have basements in an area where a basement would save your life. So again, it's kind of the same way. Another way that we could look at this is, yeah, you knew I was going to bring in a movie reference here, right? It's like The Matrix.
Do you remember The Matrix when we first saw through the eyes of the operator?
We just saw patterns go up and down, right? Or just scrolling down. Now, these aren't the actual, I wasn't trying to mimic the patterns here of the Matrix. I'm just saying that we see patterns in all these different reporting mechanisms. And we should keep these historical patterns in place so that when we see something take place that's a little out of whack or out of skew, we know that something may be up. I got to tell you my story. Some of you guys may have heard this one before, but I was getting ready to teach a ethical hacking class, and I had a student introduce themselves and say, my name is Julie. I work at the IRS. And I was like, oh, Julie, don't audit me, me trying to be funny. And she said, no, I don't do audits. I'm in charge of looking at log files or log output. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really fun. And she said, yeah, I get about 1.5 inches stack of paper each day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, shoot me. That would just be so boring. And she said, and overwhelming, especially each day. And she said, I've been doing it for so long, and I'm sure we've all had this experience before. And she said, I've been doing it so long, I actually don't read them anymore. And I thought, yeah, way to go. But she said, no. She goes, I've been doing it for so long that I actually see patterns. And of course, I then asked her if she was an operator on the Matrix. But the one thing that we need to get across here is that whatever we've been doing in the past, it ain't working. And that's why we need to look at things like historical analysis. Because trust me, folks, this is a war. You are defending resources from being taken over. And in this war or in this battle, 90% of it is information. And what better place for this information to come from than historical information? And what's interesting is that we don't have to rely on our own historical information or analysis. We can actually share that information. So again, we want to make sure that we look at the same information, but maybe with different eyes. And that's because we need to be thinking like the attacker is thinking.